I want you to forget everything you think you know about global military power. Forget the massive aircraft carriers of America. Forget China's endless rows of tanks. Forget Russia's nuclear missiles. Because sometimes, the most feared warriors are not those with the biggest budgets, but those with the fiercest spirit. And today we're talking about Filipino soldiers, a force that the world has underestimated for far too long. This is the untold story of the Philippine military, how it survived world wars, crushed terrorism, fought with allies, and earned the respect of some of the toughest militaries on earth. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why the world fears the Filipino soldier. The story begins during World War II. When Japan invaded the Philippines in 1941, the country was outgunned, outnumbered, and left to fend for itself after the fall of Bataan and Corregidor. But instead of surrendering, Filipinos went into the mountains and jungles, forming guerrilla armies that fought for years against one of the most powerful militaries in history. With homemade weapons, sheer cunning, and unbreakable resilience, these guerrillas disrupted Japanese operations, sabotaged supply lines, and provided intelligence that helped the Allies win the war in the Pacific. In fact, many historians argue that without Filipino resistance, the recapture of the Philippines would have been far bloodier, if it happened at all. That legacy of resistance against impossible odds is still alive in the armed forces of the Philippines today. Fast forward to the modern era. The Philippines built a professional military with units so tough, even the U.S. Marines openly admire them. Take the Philippine Scout Rangers. Known as the muscle of the army, these men are jungle warfare specialists. Their training is so brutal that nearly half of recruits drop out. They march for days with little food, survive on what they can hunt, and simulate real combat ambushes until exhaustion. U.S. Marines who have trained with them say the Scout Rangers are masters of environments where modern technology fails. In dense jungles, GPS signals die, drones can't see through the canopy, and high-tech weapons jam. But the Rangers thrive. Then there's the NAVSOG, the Philippine Navy SEALs. These elite frogmen conduct maritime raids, underwater demolition, and amphibious assaults. Their motto, "We lead, the rest follow." And let's not forget the Light Reaction Regiment, the AFP's counterterrorism unit. Formed with U.S. Special Forces assistance, they've been compared to Delta Force. Small in number but lethal in skill. These units are feared not just because of their training, but because of their combat experience. In 2017, the world watched in shock as ISIS-linked terrorists seized Marawi City in Mindanao. What was supposed to be a quick skirmish turned into a 5-month urban war, the deadliest battle in the Philippines since World War II. The terrorists were heavily armed, entrenched in buildings, and using civilians as human shields. But Filipino soldiers didn't back down. The Scout Rangers, Marines, and Light Reaction Regiment fought block by block, house by house, sometimes room by room. They improvised drones, used sewer systems to flank enemy positions, and relied on raw courage to retake the city. By the end, more than 1,000 terrorists were eliminated, but the price was high. 168 Filipino soldiers were killed. The sacrifice shocked the nation, but it also sent a clear message to the world. When the Philippines fights, it does not quit. The Battle of Marawi became a case study in urban warfare, and international militaries quietly studied the AFP's methods. But Filipino soldiers are not just fighters at home, they are protectors abroad. The Philippines has sent peacekeeping troops to 21 missions worldwide, from Haiti to Syria, from Liberia to the Golan Heights. In these missions, Filipino soldiers became known for their discipline, compassion, and courage under fire. In 2013, for example, Filipino peacekeepers in the Golan Heights were surrounded by hundreds of armed militants. Instead of surrendering, they fought their way out and escaped, earning praise from the United Nations. These acts proved that Filipino soldiers are not only warriors but also guardians of peace. So, why do militaries like the US, Australia, and even NATO admire and sometimes fear the Philippine Armed Forces? It comes down to 5 key reasons. Experience in real combat. Unlike many militaries that only train, the AFP has been in continuous combat for decades, against insurgents, terrorists, and foreign threats. That experience is, honestly, priceless. Adaptability. With limited resources, Filipino soldiers are masters of improvisation. They can turn basic equipment into powerful tools, proving that sometimes brains often beat budgets. alliances, and training. The Philippines trains regularly with the US, Japan, and Australia. Every year, exercises like Balikatan grow larger, combining thousands of troops in joint operations. This makes the AFP stronger and more globally integrated. Geography advantage. Defending 7,641 islands requires amphibious mastery. Filipino soldiers and sailors know every trick of island warfare, something most militaries never train for. The spirit of Bayanihan, unlike purely professional forces, the AFP carries the soul of the Filipino people. Their concept of Bayanihan, community spirit, makes them fight not just as soldiers but as protectors of families, villages, and culture. Nowhere is this fear more visible than in the South China Sea dispute. China has warships, missiles, and artificial islands. The Philippines? Well, they have a modest navy and coast guard. But here's the difference. Filipino sailors don't back down. Time after time, videos show Chinese ships trying to block, ram, or intimidate Philippine vessels. And time after time, the Filipinos stand their ground, calmly, firmly, without fear. This psychological edge, the refusal to be bullied, has made even Chinese analysts admit that Filipinos are not easy opponents. As one military scholar put it, China can build islands, but it cannot manufacture courage. There are countless stories of Filipino heroism, but let me share just two that really capture why the world respects and honestly fears them. During World War II, Captain Nieves Fernandez, a Filipino schoolteacher turned guerrilla commander, led resistance fighters against the Japanese. She trained villagers to fight with nothing but homemade weapons, and became one of the most feared leaders in Haiti. Fast forward to modern times. In Marawi, Private First Class Jenner Tinangag saved his wounded comrades under heavy fire, carrying them one by one to safety before he was killed. His bravery earned him the Medal of Valor, the Philippines' highest military honor. These are not just soldiers. They are symbols of a spirit that refuses to break. So, what does the future look like for the Philippine military? The government is investing in modernization, new fighter jets, naval ships, drones, and missile systems. But the truth is, even without high-tech weapons, the strength of the AFP lies in its people. The world is starting to notice. US generals have openly praised the Philippines as a frontline ally against authoritarian aggression. Australian officers say training with Filipinos makes their own troops tougher. And as tensions rise in Asia, the Philippines is no longer just a bystander, it's becoming a central player. So why does the world fear the Filipino soldier? Because they know that in every jungle, in every city, in every battlefield, Filipinos will never fight alone. They fight with the strength of their people, the resilience of their history, and the courage of their ancestors. And that kind of soldier, you can't intimidate them, you can't outspend them, and you can't defeat them. The world may have overlooked the Philippines for decades, but now, everyone is starting to realize the Filipino soldier is not just a warrior, they are a force of nature.